I would spend time also like planning out my day and writing in my planner, kind of like, what am I going to do hour by hour? So I felt very structured, organized, top of things, and especially for my family and making sure, that my son's homework was all done, or, that we had a meal plan. So it's just like I really tried to spend time thinking about all of the different facets of our life. And I'm not doing that in the same way. And so kind of things will come up and I don't feel quite as prepared.
Welcome back to the O Coalition. Thrilled to be with a great friend of mine, Mandy, who is also the president of Advanced Brain Technologies. And we were actually at dinner with her husband, Alex, and myself last night. And she brought up a topic. I'm like, that would be really cool to bring up. And she jumped at it. Thank you very much, because I know it was short notice, and you're here and you showed up. And so overnight, you were thinking about this a little bit more, and kind of give us a little background on maybe the context of the topic first. And then I'm going to ask you a few questions just so we can kind of get to know you a little bit too.
Perfect. As I was just thinking about my day to day, I find that for myself, some of the friends that I have, people that I speak to, it just seems like we have a really hard time prioritizing our own needs. We just get up in the morning and just start taking care of all of the things that we have, whether it's our kids and house, pets, work, whatever the case may be. And, what I realize is that there was a time where I did, and I followed a very just kind of sacred morning ritual. And it was just part of what I did. Nothing got in the way of it. And I've come away from it. And I just would love to know, well, what was it that stopped me from
Mm.
taking that time again?
It's such a juicy topic because so many of us, I've done it too, where it's like, hey, this was working. And then what happened to interrupt it? And like, okay, then are you going back to it? Are you creating something new? Like, what's next? So I know you and I aren't alone in this. It's something everyone's dealing with, but you're in it right now. You're
Hmm.
like, okay, now what?
Hmm.
So with that, and we'll get more into that in just a moment, but give us just a little context of who you are. Like, what's your life like, and what is a day in the life of Mandy in terms of your business and your family and all that.
Yeah. So my husband and I, we actually both work from home together in our business. So we have advanced brain technologies. We work really closely with practitioners and families. And so for the business side of things, we a lot just trying to help people understand what we do, who we are. We have three boys. Two of them we have 29, 25, and then we have our 15-year-old still at home.
Almost driving.
Um, yes. So, just really, he's very busy. He's our extrovert. He wants to be out all the time with friends, running. So, a lot of our time is kind of managing we call ourselves the Uber parents. And then we have two adorable standard poodles, and they're just with us all the time. Just anything that we can do with them. It's a really I love my life. I love where we live. I love being able to work from home. So I do feel like I have a lot of freedom in my schedule, and I'm just constantly thinking about new ideas, new ways to help our programs reach more people. So that's kind of like the big focus in my mind all the time. And just, friends, family. I'm in a book club. So definitely trying to make sure I'm doing enough for myself as far as, not just being home all the time, because that would be really easy to do. I have, everything I need. I'm working there. So I purposefully have to make sure I'm getting out of the house enough.
So when you had this routine that you were kind of going through,
Mhm.
what was that like? What was your morning routine?
So I actually learned about it through the Miracle Morning book by Hal
Oh, okay.
Elrod. And I love that book. I still try to read it at least one time per year. But he has this, so he calls it the Miracle Morning, and you go through what he calls the savers. And so S stands for silence, which is your meditation. A is your affirmation. And I actually found this great app that I would use for my affirmation. V is for visualization. And then E is your exercise. R is reading. And then S is scribing or journaling. And so I did. I had my morning routine and I followed that, and it worked really well. Some days I would have 5 minutes per letter, if you will. And then other days, I could spend a lot more time, especially if I got into a really good book or if I wanted to spend more time journaling. So it's really however you want to use it, but you have a little bit more of a frame or a structure that you can follow. And it just feels really good when you're doing it consistently.
You and I have known each other for a while, and one of the things that we do in this work is recognize language, right? And so I will point out, if it's okay with you, you just said when you do that rather than when I do that, right? So just for people listening, be aware of our words, because if we say, if we're talking about ourselves and we say, oh yeah, when you do that, it works really well. It's like, oh no, it's when I do that.
It's true.
It works really
when
well.
I do that, it works really well.
Yeah.
Yes.
So now talk about that. Like when it works really well, like what is your day like after you did that morning routine? If you can think back to that time, like what was your day like? How did it contrast to not doing the routine?
Yeah, I would say I felt very grounded. I felt fulfilled. I felt very hopeful because a lot of it, I would spend time also like planning out my day and writing in my planner, kind of like what am I going to do hour by hour. So I felt very structured, organized, top of things, and especially for my family and making sure, that my son's homework was all done, or, that we had a meal plan. So it's just like I really tried to spend time thinking about all of the different facets of our life. And I'm not doing that in the same way. And so kind of things will come up and I don't feel quite as prepared, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's not terrible. I think just because I had that structure, there's still a lot of that set in place through executive functioning. I don't think that completely goes away, but the level of intention that I put into it before is definitely less now.
Well, and I mean, I can relate. I think a lot of people can. My routine, tends to be prayer and meditation. And I like to do that in a very deliberate way. And if I miss and get busy and it kind of slips away, I recognize like, wait, I don't quite feel as on. And it's subtle at first, but if we let it go too long, it can start to grow. It's like, well, wait a minute, what's missing? It's like, oh, that routine, that experience, that connection. So that's kind of my experience of hearing what you're saying. Does that sound kind of right on for what you're talking about?
Yeah. And I think with anything, it's like if you let things go for one day, it's really easy to get back on. But if you let it go for 2 days and 3 days, it's really hard for me to remember why I was doing it in the first place. And because I can replace that time so easily, it can get sucked up.
So do you remember when you stopped?
I think I do. There were a few things that led up to it. Alex was doing 75 hard. I'm not going to say I did 75 hard because I wasn't perfect. I'm not taking that.
Well, explain what that is.
Okay, so 75 hard is this pretty rigorous program, and you follow an app. And every day you have to do 2 45-minute workouts. One of them has to be outside. Even if it is pouring rain, if it's freezing, you have to do one outside. Okay. I'm kind of more of a fair weather girl. So I did do both of my 45-minute workouts, but I definitely did not do them both outside.
But still, you were both
yes,
super committed.
We were very committed. And, he would tease me and he's like, it's really not that big of a deal. And eventually I did start doing them more outside. But then you also have to take a photo of yourself every day. You need to drink a gallon of water every day. You need to read 10 pages of a self-improvement book, follow a very strict diet, which we did really well. We followed the 4-hour body, no alcohol, no cheat meals. So, it's a 75-day period where you're really just focused on self-improvement. And we both felt our absolute best. But then towards the end, I definitely started to feel like that sense of deprivation. I wasn't loving it anymore, but I committed, so I wanted to see it through.
Hmm.
And I think after the 75 days were up, I'm like, give me my cheeseburger. I want a glass of wine. And so then maybe I went a little bit the opposite direction too quickly. So I'm like, I'm free. Let me just have whatever I want.
And you
And
felt good too,
I
and I mean, you
did.
look good, and everything was kind of working. It's like, okay, well, what's a cheeseburger then, and what's a glass of wine?
Exactly. And then the other thing that happened right around that time is we had somebody that I really enjoyed working with, but it just became not really a good fit. And for him too, like I found out he actually had completed his resume. So, I love that idea too. If it's not working for you, it's probably not working for the other person as well.
Hmm.
So, thankfully we ended up going our separate ways, but during that time, that meant I had to absorb his full workload until I could hire somebody else. And it took me a really long time to hire somebody. So during that time, I was doing, customer service and phone calls and emails all day long. And then I was also doing all of our content. And it was just, those were really long days. So a lot of times I would wake up very, very early. And I remember reaching out to you at one point because I was having this period of like, a week where I was working on this really interesting blog about neuroplasticity, the cell danger response, and how music can help. And I would wake up every single morning at 4:44. And I'm like, what is this? And so we had a few conversations about that.
Yeah,
But so then
those angel numbers
those
show up
angel numbers
when we
show
need them.
up. Yep.
Yep.
And I would wake up and I had a ton of ideas that I just had to get out. And so I would start working at 4:44. And then shortly after that, my sweet little Yorkie, who was sick for a very, very long time, probably 2 years she was really sick. But then she passed away, and that was really hard. So it was just like the loss of, our teammate, our team member, these early morning trying to manage all the things, losing my dog. Just, it was a lot during that period of time. And I think I had a lot of pressure to just keep everything moving forward, if
Yep.
that makes sense.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
coming off of, all that's happening at the end of this 75-day thing,
Yeah.
and it creates a huge change.
Hmm.
And then now, fast forward, that was when?
That was
Roughly.
like end
How
of
many?
2022.
Okay, so a few years ago.
Hmm.
So then, since then, that routine kind of got disrupted. You still, obviously, you're running a company and you've got a family and you're doing things, but it's
Yeah.
just not as centered as you'd like.
I think the things that I'm still doing, like I still work out very consistently. The things that I'm not doing that I miss are the more spiritual parts
Okay,
of it. So, taking time to really
you're in the right place.
meditate, exactly, to, journal, be more self reflective. I still consume a lot of content that I love, but I'm not sitting down with a book anymore. So it's like I'm doing the dishes and I'm listening to my favorite podcast, or so I'm constantly like, I can't help it. I love taking in content, but I'm not sitting down and being more reflective with it. That's the part of those earlier routines that I
Hmm.
definitely miss.
So, what I'm curious about, and other people might be too, is is the new routine working for you? I mean, outside of this one piece where it's like, hey, I'd like to be more reflective, but in the other context, okay, you shifted, you had the life things change, and now you've got kind of a new routine. Is that all working? Is
Yeah.
that all like, yeah, I want to keep that,
Hmm.
and that's good.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's more aligned with you. You're not like 75-day, like it's not so, it sounds like structured.
Hmm.
It's your structure, not someone else's structure, which is often what happens. And I think one of the pieces I just want to point out is there's a lot of times where we might need some guidance. And so we look to a system, we look to a program, and then we get into that. But it's hard to maintain because it wasn't our program. It might have been supportive for us to start changing our thinking and changing our routine, but then we have to at some point make it our own and say, okay, this works, this doesn't, etc. But it can get us out of maybe a rut. I mean, I'm sure the 75-day when you started that got you and Alex out of something that you were trying to change, you're
Mhm.
trying to move forward and be more deliberate with. So I want to recognize that, especially for anyone listening, if you're in a system, if you're in a program, it's okay to modify it for you, and that's not failure. And I think that's the misnomer. And I heard that just a little bit as you said, oh, toward the end of the 75 days, you wanted to do it because you made a commitment, which is fine. So back to routine in terms of making it our own. So if there's something that, anyone is doing, it's important to digest and then say, oh, this works, this doesn't, and then let go of what doesn't work, or maybe 75 day, maybe 45 minutes twice a day. It's like, oh, that doesn't work, but I could do 20. And that's more my rhythm or whatever it might be. So that context is really important because what happens often is people get into a program and then they miss a day or they miss a couple days. And now all of a sudden they feel distant from it, like you mentioned. And the further they are away, shame and guilt can come up, right? And then once shame and guilt come up, there's a lot of shame and guilt that people have in their past. It resonates all that. And it's like, well, now when they think of going back, it's bringing up all this garbage that they don't want to deal with. And so it's like, it's easier just not to do it. So just a little bit of a side note, just to reinforce, like, hey, this is important that when we do something and we're like, oh yeah, this is working for me, just set a time. This is more for other people than you, but set a time of 3 months or 2 months or whatever it is. I'm going to do this for this, and then I'm going to reassess. So I want to emphasize routines are great and programs can be really helpful. But if the program becomes like the religion, if you will, that's a really unhealthy, because now we're doing it because we think we have to or we're supposed to. And that's never going to be,
Agreed.
yeah.
Yeah, because then you almost, the energy around it changes, right? You want to, or at least I want to, when I'm doing something, to feel excited about it. What I remember also is I love all of the habits books. So, James Clear,
Hmm.
Atomic Habits, BJ Fogg's with Tiny Habits. There's just so many things you can do before you need to do it to set yourself up. And so I would set my yoga area up the night before, and I would know which one I wanted to do, and I would have everything laid out the night before. Or if I was going to go on a walk, I would have those things set up. My shoes would be ready to go. So it's like I had already told myself that I was doing it. And I told myself before what time I was going to wake up because I already knew what my next day would look like. And so when you frame it the night before, when you get up, you almost feel excited. And there's not this sense of like, oh, I have to do this again. But instead, it's a, oh, I get to do this. And I've made my time and I'm doing it. And that's where I think it started falling. I stopped doing the things that I knew helped me do them.
Okay. So you know what to do.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of doing it. And now you're having the awareness like, hey, I missed something. Something's missing, this, time of spiritual reflection. And so what would you do today, now that we're talking about it, that would help set that up for you?
I would go back to the night before. I would give myself maybe at like 8 o'clock, I would start setting up my morning, plan out my day, have everything ready so that I didn't
Mhm.
have any excuses the next morning. Like, oh, I should, I don't know, unload the dishwasher and then I'll do yoga, or I should start some laundry and then I'll go for a walk, because then you start the laundry and they're like, oh, the dishes are dirty, from the night before. You find things, or I find things that interfere with my self plans.
Do you also, I'm a pretty visual person. I don't know if you are, but I'll get up in the morning, like this morning, I got up and I saw myself, I'm in the hotel, and I saw myself in the hotel room doing exercises, doing some push-ups and doing some, I don't know what they're called, but those leg stretch things, just getting the muscles moving, getting some energy, jumping jacks. And I thought, oh, jumping jacks, people below me may not like, but I saw myself doing it. And then I got up and drank some water and brushed my teeth, and it flashed again. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. So I did. And I felt really good, but there's an honoring of self in my routine. I don't know if everybody has that kind of thing, but
What do you mean?
well, it's a flash. I wake up and I see the
Yeah.
image. And then do I follow through on the image? Do I follow through? Like, oh yeah, that was my whole self, my relationship with all of my parts kind of flashing up like, oh wait, yeah, this is going to be good for me today to get my body moving. Do you have images like that? Is that
I do, 100%. And do you know what happens is I'll have those visions and I'll say, "Okay, well, hold on just a second. I'm just going to do this." Or and then it will come back. So it's almost like I'm begging myself to do it, but then I'm like, "You hold on." Right? I'm just pushing
yeah,
it aside and then the morning is gone and that opportunity is gone and then I feel like, "Oh, I didn't get to do it."
that's the work right there.
Mhm.
So I'm going to take us through a couple of things because this is for me too.
Okay.
It's for everybody. We're
Love
all
that.
human, and so one of the things that I've recognized is how do I honor that whole part, and what I know it as is almost the divine part, but
Mhm.
it's not the divine part out there, it's the divine part in here. It's integrated, the heart, the mind, the soul, everything integrated. And when that's all integrated and there's something that flashes up that serves me, I've played around at times where I said, okay, I'm just going to honor it. Now if there is a time window, or if I'm not comfortable doing it at that moment, I will check in. It's like, hey, when should I do this? When is optimal to do this? Is actually a healthier way to say it. And it might be, oh, 2 o'clock this afternoon. Like, oh, okay, well, that I can do that. Because sometimes we'll get the flashes and it's like, oh, well, I don't have time, like you said. And then we'll feel guilty and it'll come up. It's like, oh, I should have done that. And so there's the guilt again, but it may have come up not to do then, but it may have come up just to put in your planner for another time. So time is a really important piece here that I'm going to encourage everybody who's watching this to start paying attention to. If you get a flash of doing the dishes, you might say, oh, okay, when? Now. And you start to allow for you to learn from that whole self how you work. So if it's something small like that, and every time you ask, it's always like, well, now, right? Then you don't have to ask anymore because you learn, you retrain yourself how to pay attention. But if it's something like write a book, well, that's not something you're just going to sit down and do. It's like, oh, okay, well, what does that look like? It's like, oh, we'll schedule an hour to plan. So now the hour is scheduled and that's done.
Yeah.
If it's not scheduled, if it's not interacted with, that's when it starts to kind of pull us in that direction of, oh, I didn't do it. Oh, I'm not good. Like, oh, so it's important to honor what comes up into our brain. So that's the thing that I want to ask about with you. Like, is that something that you've done in the past? Is this something that you're willing to do? Because I'd love to, if you are, I'd love to hear in a week, like how the practice has been going for you.
Yes, absolutely. I think what I recognize that is that if I've made a commitment for myself and I decide nothing is going to be getting in the way of that, those thoughts of other things that I could or should be doing still come up. But there are days where I just decide I'm just not going to be doing those things right now, but later. And I think that I could do that a little bit more. I do find that I try to probably do too much in a day. A lot of I just like try to, oh, I'll
A
hurry
little
and do
bit of an
this.
overachiever.
Yeah, and just some days I'll be working and I'm like, I have not sat down in like 5 hours. I've just been going, going, going. And so I don't know why I push myself so hard. I know I don't have to. Nobody else is expecting me to. I do. And then my back hurts or my feet are sore. And I'm like, I just need to sit down. So I like push so hard almost to the breaking point. And that's where, Alex definitely says, like, I do worry about you getting into like that state of burnout. And he'll sometimes call me out on it, like, hey, just take a bit of a break or stop what you're doing. I'm taking you to lunch. So he definitely recognizes it before I do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been really
Well,
helpful.
that's a good partner.
He's a really good partner.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
nice. You picked well.
I did.
So what happens with the routine when you're fully ready to go back in it? Is there any resistance? Like if you were to say, okay, I want to do this, obviously you want to do it. So I want to do this. Is there any reason not to do it? Is there anything like, you know what, this is why I really don't want to do that spiritual work, why I don't want to do the reflection? Is there a
Mm.
payoff for not doing it?
Yes. So this maybe I think maybe last year in August, Alex hurt. He actually broke his ankle and threw out his back, and I think also since that time, I I baby him. I don't want him to do extra things, and if the kitchen isn't clean, I know that he's going to go and unload the dishwasher. Whoever, you know what I mean? Whoever kind of sees it first is going to take care of it. And I just think if he's bending over too much, that might hurt his back. Or if he's standing for too long, I guess I really worry about him getting hurt again. And so part of it is like, I want to make sure that the space feels how we both like it to feel clean and tidy so that he doesn't feel like, oh, I need to do this. So that's part of it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other thing is probably just keeping, I don't know, I think it's just a matter of keeping our house the way we like it. And that gets in the way of me taking my time.
Because that's in your face. It's
Yes.
just
Hmm.
so, oh, I could sit on the couch or wherever you sit and do my meditation and prayer
Yeah.
and all
It's like
that.
if I'm just sitting there
Or
doing my meditation, I'm thinking the kitchen is dirty. And it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter that the kitchen's dirty. We can clean it at any point during the day, but that's going to creep in.
right. So now shift to the payoff. What's the payoff of doing it? So if you do it, then your day goes better. You mentioned that, and things accelerate, and there's like lots of benefits. So it's this rub of, okay, there's the physical things in the world that, if I don't do, well, then Alex might do, and I don't want Alex doing it because then he could get hurt. So there's a fear of Alex getting hurt, and you're trying to protect him.
Yes.
Okay. Which I don't know that it's there yet, but over time would likely lead to unhealthy thoughts about Alex, where, again, may not be there yet, but often when someone's trying to save or protect, and then the person who's being saved and protected, they probably don't like that very much. So there's probably some backlash occasionally,
Hmm.
like, hey, let me do it. I'm fine. I can do it. But you've got this worry. So I think that's the crux of where I'd like to spend the next 10 minutes. Like, let's unpack that worry. Let's address that, allow that to dismantle so that you feel more free to take care of you.
Okay.
Does
I
that sound
like that
good?
idea.
All right.
Yep.
I cancel my goal to save Alex. See if you can say that with strength. I cancel my goal to save Alex.
I cancel my goal to save Alex.
And just take a nice breath and see if anything comes up, any emotions. Pretty good?
I
Okay.
think he'd want me to say that.
Yeah, right. Because it's not about Alex.
Right.
So I allow for Alex to get hurt.
I allow for Alex to get hurt.
And this is part of the kind of letting go and detaching a little bit so you can see a little more clearly. Because if we're doing it from fear, that's going to have a negative outcome ultimately. So we want to get to a place where, because the fear is Alex might get hurt, right? And that's not good. And you love him so much, and so there's love at the base of it. But if the action's from fear, that's the unhealthy part. So I cancel trying to do everything.
I cancel trying to do everything.
Yeah, I allow for the Holy Spirit to guide my thoughts and actions.
I allow for the Holy Spirit to guide my thoughts and actions.
All right, there you go. So now let's breathe into that. So there's an element of self here that we're going to dive into. So I allow for me to relax.
I allow for me to relax.
It's okay to sit. It's okay to sit.
It's okay to sit.
It's okay to take care of my unseen parts, the spiritual parts.
Oh yeah. It's okay for me to take care of my spiritual and unseen parts.
Yeah. Okay. So now when you think of Alex, and you might close your eyes for a minute and imagine looking in his eyes and look at the perfection of him. Like you might think of him the day you got married, or think of him in his highest and best. Right? You see him?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now a question you're going to ask You're gonna ask it out loud and then just wait and listen. So, eyes closed, you're looking at him, not me. Hey, Alex, out loud. Hey, Alex,
Hey, Alex,
is there anything that you need from me to be safe?
is there anything that you need from me to be safe?
And just breathe and see if an answer comes up.
Yeah, actually, he worries about me as much as I worry about him. And so he needs me to be really good.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
response is that he actually needs you to take care of you,
Yeah.
which is interesting because here you're trying to take care of him, and make sure that nothing can happen to hurt his back or what have you. But really, he's from the spirit, which is what you're doing. You're connecting, like, hey, because you know each other so well,
Yeah.
right? And before we started, we entered into prayer. It's like we're allowing for that wisdom to come through. And just for people who are listening, it's not like you're actually talking to Alex, right? It's not like he's actually, but you are energetic from a spiritual standpoint. You are. It's
Mhm.
real from that standpoint. You can trust that because that's what you're probably picking up in your daily life. You're aware of this,
Yeah.
and it's just kind of coming to the surface. Okay, so now when you hear that, what changes in your mind about your own practice, if anything?
The pressure gets lighter, and all the things that I think I'm prioritizing aren't actually that big of a priority. And that what's more of a priority is my energetic, mental, physical state, because I'm probably a lot nicer when I'm, taking care of myself and I'm not rushing around and hurried. I think for me, I don't always realize how I'm coming across when a zillion things are going through my mind. If I can come back to that slow, present state, I'm more connected to whoever I'm with and with whatever I'm doing. So
Hmm.
just, I need to slow down.
And we've always heard slow down to speed up. And it's like, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
When we're centered and you do your spiritual work, I guarantee, because I know you, you're getting insights, you're getting thoughts,
Mm-hmm.
and they're on target, they're aligned. And so aligned people are going to get divine insight
Yeah.
and inspired thought. And then when we act on that, things move rapidly. It changes the rhythm. Like one person can do something. Uh, well, I've I wrote this book and it came out in 9 days,
Right.
right? So 9 days it came out. Now it needed to be edited and everything. How does that happen? It only happened because I was in an aligned spiritual state and then it flowed. It wasn't, oh, I want to write a book, so now I've got to sit down and schedule. It was, I started in the spiritual state, and then in the spiritual alignment, the insight came, oh, write the lowly prophet. And I'm like, okay, what's that about? And it just kept coming.
Yeah.
Like starts, do this, do this, do this. Like, okay. And I did, and boom, it's there. And it's amazing in terms of experiencing that because I look with awe,
Yeah.
right? I could have spent a year and a half trying to write, and it wouldn't have worked as well as the 9 days when I was just in an aligned state. And so there's a rhythm and there's a law, there's a universal law of rhythm that when we center with our divinity first and we stay in that space and we call on God to guide, one of the things that starts to occur for people is they move forward quicker, quicker,
Mm-hmm.
quicker. So you could do something in 3 months that would have taken 3 years. And so when you think of your business, when you think of your life, and you think back at when you did do the reflection, when you did do the spiritual work, did that happen for you? Did you have any moments where it's like, oh yeah, this thing moved
Mm-hmm.
quicker?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Anything specific?
Well, the biggest thing back in the time where I was doing that is these incredible insights that I would get, and then I would really feel like I could take action on them, and not from a rushed place, but rather a listening place, and then taking action on what I was experiencing. And I think the end product of it also, there was more intention and more meaning behind it. And I think that it definitely landed better with whatever it was. But a lot of it was the content that I was writing, the collaborations. We were actually working with some of my friends that started to come in and join the business and do some really exciting things with us, making videos. And we moved a lot of things forward. And it was fun. It was really fun.
And I encourage, one of the things that I think for business leaders, especially, there's a rush. There's deadlines, there's shareholders, there's a
Mhm.
lot of pressure. But one of the things that I learned when I was doing sales, like, hey, if I just prayed and meditated, for a half an hour in the morning, I would get these insights of, oh, call this person, go to this event. And
I would
that,
get that.
yeah, you
Oh,
do.
yeah,
Oh,
I would
really?
get that too.
Yeah, because that's how it works,
Mhm.
right? And so if we ignore that part and just rush into the day and rush into the day, it's like they compound together. We miss the mystery, we miss the awe, we miss the inspired thought that still might be in there at times, but it's not necessarily appreciated, and what we appreciate tends to grow. So if we appreciate that inspired thought, if we appreciate that time, with our creator, and ourself, there's a specialness that always is there, is always
Mhm.
available. So as we're talking about this, like, how does this shift, like, what you're going to do? It's okay if there's nothing,
Visualizing.
but
No, I am. I'm visualizing it, and I'm actually seeing myself taking the time and being with myself and allowing space. I think that is probably the biggest thing is give a little space. I'm trying to fill every minute with all the things and I don't have to do that. So I think it's giving myself permission to slow down, giving myself permission for space and for the self-care. I visualize what I'm going to be doing and the kind of life I want to have even, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. And part of it is like, well, then if that's the life that I envision for myself, is what I'm doing right now truly aligned? And what has to shift in order to have that clarity that I'm looking for?
beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. One of the things that I encourage people to do is, if you can even carve out 15 minutes twice a day, and that 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes at the end of your workday before you go home, it's a nice transition. There's then the opportunity to kind of get that clarity moving into your workday, and then they get that clarity when you transition. I know you're working at home, but transitioning
Yeah.
is a powerful thing too, because when we leave work, oftentimes people leave and they jump right in. So 15 minutes twice a day is just a starting point.
Hmm.
And again, like anything, just like all the things we started with when we were talking, it's a guidepost. Like, it's just try it and then see what works for you. Maybe it's 7 minutes, maybe it's 30.
Yeah. That
Sometimes I'll
is
sit
the
down
thing.
for,
You don't have to do it for hours
no.
because then you won't. But 15 minutes, I think Alex said there are 96 15-minute opportunities in a given day.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
So that's just two of them.
It's just two
You
of
still have
them.
94 left to do
You
the
do.
dishes.
Mhm.
Kidding. I was using dishes because you said it earlier to unload the dishwasher, right?
Yes,
There's still all those other moments.
that's right.
Yeah. Anything else that you'd like to share on this, or any thoughts you have about what someone else might pick up in order to kind of
Mhm.
re-engage in their own practice?
Yeah, I think that perhaps because I'm forcing myself to keep myself so busy, how does that make Alex and Brendan feel like do they need to have that same level? And they don't, but maybe they think I believe that they should, which I don't. So I would say a little bit of self-reflection to be an example to the people in my life to say it's okay to take care of yourself. And Alex is a really good example for me. He definitely follows his routine a lot better than I do. And I see him sitting there, reading or doing one of our music programs. And I'm happy for him. And I would say he's trying to set an example for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would say I probably would like to set an example for him and for Brendan too.
When you see that, just out of curiosity, is there any tinge of resentment of like, hey, you're doing that and I'm doing all the other things, and
Mm,
yet you're sitting there doing the music program, or is that not a thing for you?
not usually.
Okay.
Every
I
once in
don't
a
sense it,
while,
but
no, like today, he had to do a few extra things and I was really grateful, but I at the same time I kind of felt guilty because I'm like, I normally do all these things, but he helped out this morning and no, I like it when he's doing that.
oh, good,
Yeah.
good. That's a great attitude because some people do. They have resentment, like, oh, wait, you're taking care of you, but I'm doing all the other things. And so it's nice to see that you don't have that. And
Mhm.
I didn't pick that up that you did. But I think for people who might be going through exploring, like, well, is it okay for me to take time for me? Because if you're not you, but if you're resenting someone else for their self care, that's going to be impossible for you to then allow yourself to self care. There's because you're judging. And so that judgment
Absolutely.
actually works against you.
Yep.
So if anyone out there is doing that, if you recognize, like, oh, yeah. And I have a very specific, kind of funny story on this where I was building a tech company years ago, and the new Star Wars movie or something was out. And someone that I was working with, they took like the afternoon to go watch the Star Wars movie. And I resented it. Like, wait a minute, you're taking off to go watch a movie and we have all this stuff to do. But I didn't value that that might have been what he needed most in order to, be at the top of his game like that, or just he wanted to do that. But if I held on to that, then it's like, well, then how could I possibly go and take care of myself when I'm judging him? I can't.
Yeah.
So it took a time for me to really recognize that and say, oh, you know what? I release judging. I allow for people to do what they need to do. I'm not in their shoes. I don't know what's going on in their mind. And that started to move me in a direction where it's like, oh, wait, it's okay for me to go for a walk in the middle of the day, because that's what I need. It's
Yeah.
okay for me to do XYZ because that's what I need for self care. And that helps me show up better at home, at work, with things that really need to be done. Right.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
Agreed. 100%.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So let's wrap.
Okay.
I'm so thankful that you came on. And I do want to possibly reconnect with you maybe in like 3 to 6 months, have you come back and see like what changed?
I love that idea.
Did you actually do the spiritual
Okay.
practice? What does the spiritual practice look like? And pay attention. If you do it, pay attention to things that start to accelerate, things that start to come up that, oh, I wouldn't have had that idea, or I wouldn't have taken that action. I wouldn't have hired that person or gone to that meeting or what have you. Just kind of make some mental notes and we'll come back and report. Does that sound good?
Perfect. I love that.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Thanks, Mandy.
Okay.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.